Welcome to the Defeat the Drama podcast, where you'll learn tips, tricks, and strategies to help you gain clarity, find purpose, live boldly, and defeat the drama in leadership and life. Host Kirsten E. Ross is known to many as the drama-free queen. She is the undisputed expert of transformation. She'll move you from resigned, resentful, and overwhelmed to focused, engaged, and empowered.
Welcome to the Defeat the Drama podcast. I'm Kirsten Ross, your host, and this is episode number 55. Drama zaps energy and steals focus, so let's defeat some drama now. And don't forget, if you've got some personal work or life drama and you'd like some customized strategies to help you defeat it, shoot me a message. Go to defeatthedrama.com, click on the podcast tab, and then go to submit your question. You can either record your current challenge or send me a message, and I will provide customized solutions and share them on a future episode. All right, in the meantime, for today's episode, I'm going to be talking about fear. And fear is definitely something that causes drama, both in work and in life. So this goes under the category of tools you can use in leadership and life. I'm going to provide you with 5 key strategies that you can use to move through your fear. Fear plays an important part for us, in our world and in our lives. We do need to pay attention. It's a gut instinct that tells us that we might be in danger. The problem is fear started back in the day when there was something dangerous. Our life was at stake or our physical safety was at stake. So we get this adrenaline rush, and our immediate thought, our innate action is stop, don't move, don't do anything, listen, be still. And the thing is, often when we're feeling fear today, it's, I don't like making cold calls. And that adrenaline rush kicks in, or it might be I don't like to travel, or I don't like to go to events by myself. There's all kinds of things that cause fear where, that old innate feeling kicks in and we get all those same physical responses. Your heart might race, your palms sweat, and you just have this instinct of stop, be still, listen, don't move. But the truth is, making a cold call isn't going to put your life in danger, right? So that innate part of our brain, we need to kind of work around that important characteristic that we have that certainly, can still serve us in certain circumstances today, but very often served us well when we were living in caves and forests and things like that. So I'm going to talk about what fear can do if we just listen to it all the time and let it win. And then I'm going to give you some key strategies to help you move through fear, because the truth is you just have to. Because that little innate part of our brain, that little reptile part of our brain, it just kicks in too often for some of us. So, I actually saw what can happen with fear when my oldest son was little. Because fear is like a blob. It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger if we keep letting it win. And if fear gets bigger, our life gets smaller. Our impact on this world gets smaller. So, and I actually had an experience where I went through needing to bust through fear. One day I was driving and I got double vision. And that, needless to say, scared me. So I had to go through and I still remember exactly where I was on the expressway. I remember seeing the signs. I remember trying to close one eye, and I actually drove myself right to an emergency room where they started a battery of tests and everything ended up being fine. Thank God. But in the meantime, I kept being afraid that was going to happen again while I was driving. And so I started getting panicky feelings. That little innate part of my brain was kicking in. You're in danger. That's going to happen. And my heart would start to race and my palms would sweat and I would get so fearful. But I knew I couldn't let that fear win. I couldn't stop myself from driving because wow, would my life get smaller. There is some public transportation where I live, but that would not be the desired way, to get around. So I had to be able to keep driving. I had to bust through it. So I had to keep going and just keep myself calm in the moment. Now, I was starting to tell you, when my oldest son was little, he became afraid of thunderstorms. So he had an experience that caused him to be afraid. But over, a year or two, I watched that fear get bigger and bigger and bigger. So we have a pool and we would have friends over and it would, we could hear thunder rumbling. Well, you're supposed to go inside anyway, but he would go inside and go down in the basement because he was so afraid of thunderstorms. Well, then it was if it rained, it might thunder. And so if it rained, he needed to go down into the basement. Then if clouds came, if the clouds came, it might rain. And if it rained, it might thunder. So if clouds came, if it was cloudy out, he needed to go into the basement. Then he became afraid if it was windy, because wind might bring clouds. Clouds might bring rain, and rain might bring thunder. So if it's windy, I better go down in the basement. And it was really tough. He was missing all this time at the pool. We'd have friends over and he would say, oh, it's getting kind of windy. I'm just going to go inside. And you could see him being afraid. And it was so tough at first because I couldn't help him through it. But over time, I helped him stay outside when it was windy so he could see that it was okay. And then I helped him stay outside when it was cloudy and he could see that it was okay. And then even when it was raining, he could stay outside and it would be okay. Then the next thing to do is get him to, if it was thunder and lightning, yes, we're going to go inside, but we don't have to go into the basement. Only under certain circumstances do we have to go into the basement. But it was so tough. So, thank goodness he's all over it. He's a teen now. All is good. But for that period, it was so difficult seeing his life get smaller and smaller and his enjoyment of friends and the pool get more and more limited. And I want you to stop and think, where are you letting fear do similar things in your life? It might not be as concrete, but stop and think there could be areas. So are you someone who doesn't like to go anywhere by yourself? What's the impact on your life? So maybe you started with, well, I don't like to go to the movies by myself. Well, a lot of people don't. But if there was a fear around it, then, I don't like to go out to eat, or I don't want to go to the grocery store, or I'm not going to go shopping, or I don't want to run errands. Maybe it's gotten bigger and bigger. If you're a business owner or leader, you might need to go to events. Is it stopping you from going and networking because you don't want to go somewhere by yourself? And if you can't drag a colleague or someone with you, you make up excuses and don't go. Get real. What is that fear doing to you? If you don't like talking to strangers on the phone or in person, what's that doing to you? Is it impacting your business? How about travel? Are you reluctant to travel? So there's all kinds of fears. Maybe it's a fear of spiders or snakes or staying in hotel rooms or who knows. But stop and think and be aware of where fear is igniting that physical response in you and stopping you in your tracks and telling you, be still, listen, don't move. Because the goal is to get real about the fear so that you can take action and bust through it, not let it get bigger and bigger and bigger. So here are some strategies to use to help you bust through your fears and get moving. The first one is get real about what the fear is. Sometimes I have clients who just say, oh, I'm just too afraid, but they haven't really stopped to think, what is the specific fear? Sometimes the being afraid of a cold call or being afraid of going to a networking event, it's not about being afraid to go somewhere by yourself. It's a fear of not knowing what to say. Well, that's an easy one. Once you dive down into specifically what it is, sometimes you can create some actions around it. So if you don't know what to say, hey, just ask questions. And I have actually another podcast on that. So go find that episode on networking. But you can create some strategies that make it more comfortable for you if that's your fear. So if the real fear is, I just never know what to say, you just create some strategies for what you'll say, and then you've busted through it. So it's not this generic fear of, I just don't like going to networking events. So figure out what it really is. Or maybe it's cold calling. So, figure out exactly what it is. What's the fear? Maybe it's, I'm going to look stupid, or people are going to think I don't know what I'm doing, or, I don't want to make a mistake. So what's the underlying fear that's stopping you from doing the things that you need to do? So that's the first thing. Then the second thing is, what's the worst that could happen? Okay, so let's say it's cold calling. I don't like cold calling. What's the worst that's going to happen if you cold call someone? Well, maybe they'll be really rude, scream and swear at you, and hang up. Okay, that's unpleasant, but is your life in danger? Is your physical well-being in danger? No, but it might be igniting that response as if it were. So get real about it and think, what's the worst that could really happen? And then once you see that and think, well, actually, yeah, I would survive that. It's not that big a deal. Then you can say, what are the chances of that actually happening? So go to one of your colleagues if it's cold calling and say, who does a lot of cold calling, and ask, how often does someone scream, swear at you, and hang up? And they're probably going to say, oh, it happens once a month, or I don't know how often, but, find out, like, maybe it's not even that often, or, you know what, it's only happened to me 3 times in my entire career. Oh, wow. So I'm being stopped from something that would be important in my business by something that, 1, doesn't even happen that often, and 2, my physical safety is not impacted. I'll be okay. I can make it through it. I'll survive. This is a silly fear. Then the 4th is, what would the outcome be? So like I said, you can stop and think, what would really happen if someone did hang up on you? And you start to realize everything would be okay. I would just move on to the next person. I'm still okay. Or what would happen if you went to a networking meeting and you didn't really know what to talk about, or you got into an uncomfortable conversation? Again, is your physical well-being in danger? No. Do you feel a little silly, a little disappointed in yourself? Maybe. But is that okay? Then you figure out, what can you do about it if it does happen? So you're going to create strategies around dealing with it. So the cold calling happens. Someone does scream and swear and hang up on you. What are you going to do about it? Have a coworker ready in the wings to go laugh about it with. Oh my gosh, I had this great idea that I was going to share with them and they didn't want to talk about it. Their loss. Or the networking event. What are you going to do about it? Create some new strategies. Keep practicing. You'll get better at it. You'll get better at talking to people. So what would the outcome be? You'll be fine. And then what can you do about it? What are some outcomes? How can you change the outcome? What are the learnings that you can take from something not going as well as you'd like? You can empower yourself around the fear by creating new strategies to overcome the stuff that didn't go as well as you'd like. And then the last strategy is, if none of that stuff works, look at the fear and say, my physical well-being isn't in danger. My life isn't in danger. I'm going to feel that fear and say, forget it. I'm doing it anyway. Sometimes it really is a matter of just busting through the fear. And in the example that I gave about when I had the double vision and started to be afraid to drive, that's really what I needed to do. I need to look at the fact that I was however old and it had never happened before, that everything was fine. I mean, I did have to use some strategies around, I was fine. I went through all the testing. It could happen again. It hasn't. It's been years, knock on wood. But if it did happen, I would be okay because I could create some strategies around it. Now that I know I'm okay, I don't need to drive myself to an emergency room next time. I shouldn't say next time. It's not going to happen again. But but I knew I would be okay. I knew if I couldn't see well enough, I could pull over and be calm, or just get to my destination and everything would be okay as long as I could see well enough. Maybe closing an eye would work and I could just get to where I needed to go and go on with my day. And that eventually, in a very short period, the vision would come back and everything would be okay. This was migraine related, by the way. So I just needed strategies around what could I do if it happened. And then I would still feel the fear and I'm not going to stop driving. I need to keep driving. So it was one of those where I just had to feel the fear, take some deep breaths, calm myself, and keep going. I was not going to pull over unless I had the double vision. And it was just the fear of something that is very unlikely. It's only happened one time, knock on wood. And so it's not something to stop me in my tracks, make me be still and stop moving. So those are some quick strategies. I hope that helps you to bust through some fears. So the first thing is get real about where you're stopping yourself in your tracks, and you're letting that little lizard part of your brain say, stop, be still, listen, wait, don't move. Remember, you're not in the cave. Something's not coming to get you. So what's the reality of that fear? And just figure out a way to move through it so your life and your impact can be as big as you need it to be. You have important work to do in this world, so make it happen. And if you need some additional strategies, some more support from me, I have a great boot camp that you should check out, and I give a discount just exclusively for podcast listeners. It's called the Defeat the Drama, Delight Your Customers, and Improve Your Bottom Line Boot Camp. It walks you through step by step via video from me, everything you need to do to gain clarity about what you need to do in your business, the types of employees you need, how to get them taking targeted action with tenacity, removing barriers to team productivity, driving focused employee correction conversations, hiring well, and establishing harmony and productivity. So it is all about rocking your team, getting your team. It's a 7-step system to get your team doing what you need, loving what they do, and directing focus where it should be. Doesn't that sound awesome? So go check it out. You can find it at defeatthedrama.com/podcast discount. Or go to the show notes for this episode and you'll find the link right there. So I look forward to hearing from you, and I hope that you make it a great day. Until the next episode, take care.